pretty much worked up at the library.
Okay, we're gonna get started. You guys are the most prompt group of contractors I've ever met. So, thank you all for being here on time. My name is Julie Mock. I am the regional sustainability contractor for Chaffee County. So I'm working with Chad and the building department to help put this series of energy code workshops on. This is our first one, so bear with us as we're figuring out the details and logistics. But just a couple of housekeeping things. We do have food and drinks in the back. Please help yourself at any point. There are bathrooms directly across the hall if you need them. And we want to thank the library for hosting us here today. I'm going to jump in just with a little bit more of kind of a background and introduction. I do want to do a quick round of intros just to know who is in the room. And if you haven't seen the sign-up sheet going around, please make sure you check off your name if you RSVP'd, or give us your email if you didn't, so that we can get in touch with you about future workshops. So we'll just go through really quickly who you are, the name of the business, and what kind of services you offer, and then kind of where you're located and what your service area is. I'll again kick it off. I'm Julie Mock. I'm the regional sustainability contractor. I'm not an actual contractor, but I'm working with Chad on this program. We're also working on energy, transportation, and waste diversion projects throughout the county. So you may be hearing from me about construction and demolition waste in the future, things like that. We are also the local Energy Smart coordinator for this area. So if you all are familiar, Energy Smart offers rebates and programs for both residents and businesses to get things like home energy audits and rebates off of things like heat pumps and weatherization, that sort of thing. If you're interested in learning more about that program, we've got some info for you, and Madeline in the back is our main coordinator there. So we'll keep you posted on that stuff. And I live here in Slida. So I'll pass it to you, and we'll kind of work our way back and forth down the rows.
Yeah, my name's Dennis. I'm at Mariposa Window Door, and we're right down the street here in town, and we service Chaffee County, Lake County, Salix, Gunnison, and we're just kind of here to learn more about the kind of new energy codes for concerning windows and doors and total, energy codes for all, total households.
My name is Austin with Mariposa Window, windows, doors, hardware, and we cover a large area.
I'm Chad Tyler, I'm the Chief Building Official. Greg Barrett, Chief Contractor, Chief Planning area.
I'm Graham Davidson with Poncha Lumber. All sorts of material you can get for me and service all surrounding areas, Gunnison, Leadville, Breck, Valley, etc.
Rick Clark with a company named Woodbrain. I distribute building products pretty much all over southern Colorado.
Barry Snyder with Brick Barn Works, structural engineer and residential house design.
I'm Tim Clough, Peak Solar Designs. We use solar and storage in the Chaffee County area.
Riley Frakes in Woody with Alpco Electrical contractors in the valley.
Gary Yeager, Gary's Construction Service, here in Salida.
Andy Moppin Homes. I build houses in Butte.
Glenn Jacobus, I'm a general contractor. I service Lake, Chaffee, and Park counties.
Back here.
Sonny Rodriguez, Reyes on Construction, custom built homes here locally in Chaffee.
Ben Tiefenbrunn, Black Sage Builders, also contractor building custom homes in Slide and Howard.
Dale Shoemaker, Habitat for Humanity, Affordable Homes, Chaffee County.
JRB Electric, my name is Justin Butler. We're an electrical contractor. We serve Fremont, Chaffee, Trustor, and public counties.
Jonathan Wood, I'm the electrical factor Veritech.
I'm Clay Richardson, I'm a project manager with Veritouch here in Slida, also 3D printed homes and affordable things like housing.
I'm Sarah Whittington, and I'm an architect here in Slida.
Jake Rashavi with Veritouch. I work for these guys.
Joseph Chapel with S&T Construction. We do contracting in Chaffee, Lake, and Park counties.
Colorado Mountain Solar, Kelly Mary, operations manager. We do grid-tied off-grid solar storage, Chaffee, Fremont, Custer, Summit, Lake, Park, Teller.
Kristen Hodges, the City of Salida Planning Department.
I'll share with the same.
Margot Road with Builders First Source, formerly Alpine Lumber in Buena Vista, serve Chaffee and the surrounding counties.
Matt Young with Uncommon Angles, we service north of the county, custom homes and design.
Christina Murtis from the Engineering Loft, and we do design and engineering for customer central across the state.
Lon Kirsting with L1 Kirsting Construction.
Rachel Van Dyke, I do residential plan review, and I'm the deputy building official for Chaffee County.
I'm Madeline. I work for Julie under her as the regional sustainability contractor, and I am the lady with the Energy Smart information.
Trent Hickman, Flat Rock Builders here in Salida Valley, general contractor.
Awesome, cool. Thank you all. Many of you guys may know each other, but it's helpful for me to meet you and hopefully meet some of our public officials who I'm sure you interface with a lot. I'm just going to give a quick background on the program and then kick it over to Chad for the meat of this. So we are doing a series of 12 workshops, so about once a month for the entirety of 2026. The county got a grant from the Colorado Energy Office to run this program. Really the goal is to educate you all, the building community, about the energy code changes so that implementation and adoption goes smoother. We're also doing trainings with county staff, helping them with plan review, processing, things like that. Again, to make this entire process hopefully as smooth as possible for everybody involved. As part of this workshop series, we want to get some feedback from you, so that'll be an important component at the end of today's workshop, is hearing from you all on what topics would be most helpful. What are you struggling with related to the current energy code? What changes are you having trouble with, and what do you want to learn more about? We're also going to be looking for presenters, so if you have a topic that you would be interested or a technology that you're using that you would want to share with folks, we have a platform and an engaged audience to be able to do that. So that'll be kind of today, and then again, as this series develops, we're going to dive deeper into various components of the energy code throughout the year. One other thing I'll note, we are recording this meeting, so don't say anything they don't want on YouTube. We are going to make these available, so if there's a workshop in the future that you can't attend, we'll have that as a resource online. I think that's all I have for kind of the intro, so I will kick it over to Chad to take it from here.
Hi, I'm Chad, Chaffee County building official. I know most of you. So, as you all know, it's actually been a little while now, and I'm sorry that it's taking this long to get to this point where we can do more education on this, but it's been pretty busy. So we did adopt the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code in March of 2024. As I'm sure you all aware, we've been working on projects that's been coming up quite a bit. With that adoption, we also adopted the Colorado Model Electric and Solar Ready Code, which I'm sure some of you have to deal with at this point as well. Basically, I just want to kind of go over some of the benefits of the energy code improvements. For one, obviously, is the energy efficiency of a home. Just more efficient energy. You have less energy being used, which is in turn less pollution, so on and so forth. Affecting the climate. There's been studies proving that the greenhouse gases are causing global warming. Obviously, you all have been aware this winter's been a little strange so far. So, I don't know if that's concrete evidence, but something, there's something going on there. So, also financial for the homeowner. You're going to save them a lot of money with more energy efficiency in the home. Air quality of the home. Making them a little tighter and controlling the ventilation is going to make it a healthier home. So many terms, air changes per hour, and that to help make a healthier, happier space to live. And then also with the new energy code, building longevity is included in that as well. Just because the homes are built a little better, tighter air barriers, moisture barriers, that kind of thing. Help them go a little longer. And then safer buildings, basically safer buildings with all the technology that's available now at that level, mechanical equipment and any of those kind of things, so it's safer. And then also for the comfort of the occupants. You know, obviously an energy efficient home is going to be more comfortable in the summer and in the winter, and at any time, so that's good on that. And then, so basically the state and the Chaffee County requirements, we're trying to get everybody on the same page. Obviously we have these codes adopted. It's taken some time for all of us to absorb them and get everything, you know, in our heads about how we need to go moving forward. And so that's a big part of these presentations and workshops, is to kind of get consistency across all the municipalities and jurisdictions. As I mentioned before, the model code we have adopted is the Colorado Model Electric and Solar Ready Code, which basically any house built now, new home and commercial buildings, have to be ready to, in the future, have solar installed on it. Any fuel-fired appliances need to have, you know, a pathway to them with space in the panel to be changed out in electric in the future, to an electric appliance in the future. And then also, basically everything needs to have electric vehicle charging at this point.
Now, is this the code that was just adopted January 1st of this year?
No, I think you're thinking of the land use code.
Okay.
Which also has more EV components in it,
Yes.
strangely enough, and that's why it's a little confused. We've had this model electric code adopted since March of '24.
I see.
But the EV requirements in the new land use code is like.
So are you applying the code that was just adopted January 1st, or are you just doing your codes here?
I am not, nope, I'm just doing the model codes. That's gonna be the land use code, and I'm actually still meeting with those folks on what their EV readiness stuff is gonna look like. To me, it makes sense to just keep it very similar to what we already have adopted, but that's not my department, that would be the planning. Yeah, so that, and then gas and the EV charging, obviously, and there's gonna be more to come on that in the future. The state has their own stuff coming out regularly, and their own legislation about basically all these, everything energy. There's a lot of stuff going on at the state level. And speaking of that, the future model codes, this last summer, they released the Colorado Low Energy and Carbon Code, which is basically, I haven't had a whole lot of time to get into it yet, because we don't need to yet. But basically, it's like the Model Ready and Solar Ready Code, but on steroids. I've been told it's got a lot more requirements in there, a lot more going on with the code. Still, I think the most important thing to mention about these codes is they're not trying to outlaw gas. It's just, in some ways, the code has it written into it to incentivize electricity. But again, gas is still a viable option for people to use, contractors to use, developers, homeowners, it's still there to be used. There's just a few more things you have to meet in the code to make that happen, But, so the Colorado Energy and Carbon Code, basically, the last law they wrote, I don't have the House bill number on here, I apologize, but the last legislation that came out concerning that code and when we have to adopt it is that when we adopt another code cycle, that would kind of start the process of when we need to adopt the low energy and carbon code. Now, the next code cycle I'm looking at adopting in the county, and municipalities will come along is the 2026 National Electrical Code in August of 2027. Now, that being said, the bill did give us a break where it gives us additional time to where we adopt the rest of the I codes, kind of similar to the adoption we did in March of 24, that we can adopt that low energy and carbon code at that time. In bringing this to the commissioners, they kind of agreed with me that I think we should kind of stick with the code we have, like the 2021 I codes, and obviously this model electric and solar ready code, till we really all get that down and really all get it hammered out before we go on to the next step of energy codes and those things. So we're looking at an adoption in 2030. I think the last date we have, the last due date to actually adopt the low energy and carbon codes in June of 2030. So it'll coincide with adoption of the I codes in that we need to be adopted in the last 3 code cycles. So right now we're on the 21, and that put us roughly around 20, 30 or so to maintain the last code cycles. I don't know which codes we're gonna adopt yet, we'll have to look at that as we get closer to it. Any kind of questions on any of that stuff? Oh. Okay. And then just, I mean, if anybody has any kind of input on this, we're just really looking, and this is just kind of our kickoff meeting. I thank you all for coming. This is a great turnout, so I hope as we continue to go for the next year that we keep getting people coming and engaged and wanting to learn about energy code. But we're just kind of trying to suss out what struggles people have had thus far with the energy code. I mean, I know the questions I get regularly about the energy code. But you know, I mean, is there, like, what are the most challenging aspects in the community concerning implementation of the energy code or the state model energy code currently adopted? Does anybody have anything glaring right off that they don't want to add in later, or any kind of discussion or anything? No, it's going great.
It's kind of really tricky filling out the manuals, knowing like what the proper way to fill out the manual J's and whole house ventilation calculations when, you know, just, I don't know if there was something on the county's website, like your foundation requirements, where it's just like step A, B, C, D for all of us idiots who don't know how to figure it out from the code book.
Right. Yeah, the manual J actually needs to be run through a program too.
If there was some tool that the county had that would make that a little easier. But
yeah, we could definitely look into that. And yeah, that is a hard part of the code for sure.
We do have a table on our residential and commercial submittal requirements that does document all of the design criteria required to be plugged into said program to kind of help with that. So I don't know if people are utilizing that, but it is there. You still need the program to do it, but at least there's some numbers to give you an idea of what should be plugged in to kind of get it to our area. Because I know there's a lot of different areas that could be, you know, Montrose or this, that got us in. I think I've seen on there a couple times. Just kind of dials it down a little bit more. Might be helpful.
yeah.
But yeah, it does need to go through a pretty computer software for that. Anything else? Everybody's just doing great. Bill Energy Code, we're loving it. Good times are good. Good times are good all over.
This kind of ties into it, but the biggest question I get is on remodels and what stage or phase of a remodel actually requires bringing insulation up to the new 2021 code. Do we have to do that when we're just doing fixture replacements? At what level does this go into updating everything?
So if it's an addition, then the addition needs to meet the new code without the existing structure meeting it. If it's an alteration, anywhere where you expose open wall cavities, then you need to fill that with insulation as best you can. And that's because some existing structures are 2x4 construction, so I believe they have that caveat in there, so at least you're doing the best you can with what you have without, you know, tearing. It just depends on the level of your alteration. In residential, there's a really handy code book, the existing building code that they'll be using commercial that has different levels of alteration. And that doesn't really pertain to the residential, but in my head, I kind of think of it that way. Like if you're tearing down the bare studs, then at that point you need to put it back as best you can, closest to meeting the energy code. Now, if you're just replacing, like you're saying, fixtures, like plumbing fixtures, then that doesn't need to. You don't need to meet, like, you know, obviously the R values and thermal envelope values at that point. But the fixtures themselves, we're getting at a point now in Colorado where you can't even buy, you know, a fixture that's not low flow. They just passed a law recently on January 1st about water heaters. Nowhere can sell a water heater, and they're like, it's an old style. It has to be this energy efficient rated water heater, and it even has like controls on it to set off when you're not home, so it doesn't heat water when it's not being used, when it's not being called for. And that they just passed that. That so far is for the people selling the water heaters, but that is gonna trickle down. And I assume that it's actually in some of the upcoming model state codes as well. So kind of the whole front of the entire state, like what's going on right now. Well, I shouldn't say the entire state. The legislation in most of the state. This energy code stuff is not going away. It's just gonna keep going, and it's gonna keep getting more and more and more and more. And there's no slowing down at this point. And not that I'm saying we need to. I'm just saying that's where we're headed. And so it just kind of makes sense to get into, yeah, we just got to get on board with it. Honestly, is kind of where it's heading. I mean, we're on the 2021 now. They already have the 2024 out, which in reading and researching a little bit, it actually has some lesser, like R values and things that are required, because they realize that when you get to a point where you put so much insulation in, you're not doing anything anymore. There's only so much that's actually effective, you know. So just to be saying, I mean, there's still a lot of research, still a lot of testing going on with the energy and what's going on. So we'll kind of see what comes in the future as well. Okay. Anybody else? Thank you, Greg.
You know, I get a lot of calls about being from contractors, electricians on what is a solar rough-in, what meets your guys' criteria, and there's a lot of confusion there, what I would consider a solar rough-in versus maybe what someone else does, and you know, we work on a lot of newer homes that we get there and they're like, hey, it's solar ready, and there's not really much there. So I'd love an opportunity to have like a workshop just on that alone,
Okay.
what we would consider rough-in.
Agreed.
Yeah, including probably the model codes and stuff like that. I mean, the difference is, and I'll speak now, where we're definitely gonna iron it out more later. The difference is with the solar, you know, a lot of times you have exterior mounted equipment. Usually it's only one conduit run into the panel in the house, if even that. Of course, with the new electrical standards, there's panels on the outside. Basically every house now, everyone's going to need it. So,
Yeah.
So with that solar ready stuff, yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm sorry.
No, it's gonna take like a session of
yeah, well,
kind of drawn out scenarios,
kinda
like, you know,
iron it out,
different
yeah.
roof types, different attics, no attics, things like that. You know, that'll make a difference.
Yeah, it does. And then also the solar ready zone, which is required as part of the submittal documents on the roof if you're doing roof mount. That's also there. Yeah, there's quite a bit to it. We could definitely do a session on that for sure. Probably encompassing the entire model electric codes as well, but that's probably going to take up a yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
I guess I have a question on remodels. I've got one where it's a log cabin, D-log. We're gonna do a full rip out of all the drywall. If I find studs, it'd be easy enough to put insulation in there. If I don't, let's say it's only like 2x2s, do I just insulate the best I can? And then another question is on the electric codes. At what point do I need to upgrade the existing house with the addition to have solar ready, EV, you know, all the electric ready stuff?
So with that one, the code, I'll answer your second question first, and hopefully I'll remember your first one. So with that, with the solar ready code, they actually gave the jurisdiction the option to determine which level of alteration we're going to go with. I mentioned the existing building code earlier. I'm using that as a guideline for that, and it's 50%. So if you're alterating or adding more than 50% to the existing structure, then at that point you need to do what you can to meet the model electric and solar ready code. And that can get kind of tricky because the biggest thing with that code is the panel space. A lot of these homes don't have the infrastructure built into them already to do electric appliances, EV charging, and solar. So that's kind of the trickiest thing. And that model electric code doesn't really talk a lot about services. I think the state and the utility companies are kind of catching up to that now. I know the utility companies are requiring a higher service on basically everything at this point. But in the process of this, I mean, we had subdivisions that didn't have transformers big enough to do the subdivision because they were kind of done in that like straddling the change from going to more electric. and then they had to upgrade those, so, just because all these buildings now are going more towards electric, so. So yeah, so that's the biggest thing, but yeah, I kinda use that, I like to have a code to back up whatever I'm doing, I don't just like to make stuff up, so to me, that existing building code makes sense, 50%, and that's a pretty standard number throughout a lot of codes as far as operations. Now, with the log home, there's provisions in the code where a log home just needs to meet the ICC 400, so there's a whole separate kind of energy code and book for log homes. Now in an alteration, again, probably what you're going to want to do is the best you can do. Because I don't know if that home met that was built, you know what I mean? There's like certain diameter logs and everything, that's a whole nother thing, whole nother beast.
I think there's some framing on the inside, but we'll find out when we get approval, and then we'll take the drywall off and see.
See what you got.
The idea is we're gonna be doing all the electric and plumbing anyway, so at that point.
You may want to fur out and do what you can there. And then also, some of this is going to be up to your homeowners. I mean, maybe most homeowners I found today want efficient homes. They want to have, you know what I mean? I mean, they want efficiency. They want to have a little cheaper energy bills, you know what I mean? That's what I've been running into a lot, you know, speaking with homeowners about that. So it's definitely something worth chatting about if they want to do something additional as opposed to just the minimum.
Do you know, so there's this solar ready model that we're trying to follow. Do you know if there's anything for like utility companies like Xcel, for instance, that has to come alongside that? Because we're finding like a lot of their transformers cannot handle more load onto the lines and things like that. So is there anything that parallels that?
That's going to be above my jurisdiction. I have no jurisdiction over utilities. So I believe at the state level, yes, we are going to see some legislation. I can almost guarantee it. They are bumping out legislation. It feels like every week I'm trying to keep up with it. But at this point, I'm not sure, just because that's outside of my jurisdiction. Obviously, it seems like they are catching along because I know we have, you know, obviously Sangre de Cristo and Xcel Energy in this county. You know, they are starting to bump up what services they even provide to just even single-family dwelling. So that's a start, but obviously they need to go back to the system and do it that way too. They know it's coming now, that's for sure. So we can hope they'll get caught up.
For the log homes as well, I don't know if it was new in the 21 energy code or the 18, but prescriptively, I believe you can also meet the requirements for a mass wall, which I think are a little bit lower than what's in the ICC 400, if I remember right. So that could be a little easier to meet as well.
Yeah, I think that is still in the 21 as well.
Yeah.
It's either the ICC 400 or you need to meet the prescriptive pathway of compliance of
mass wall.
Yeah, mass wall. I'm losing my thought. And I guess speaking of that, everybody's comfortable with the pathway of compliance methods in the code book? I think it seems like most folks are using the prescriptive pathway. Has anyone researched into any other pathways that maybe they might want to try to use someday? No. We're probably definitely going to do a workshop on those too. The different pathways in the code is actually one of the great parts about this energy code is it gives you a lot more options and differences into what you can do.